Jeffrey Hammerbacher was one of the first data scientists in the industry. He was the person that put together the original Facebook data science team. And once said, the best minds of my generation are thinking how to get people click on ads. And this is true and sad at the same time. We live in a world where millions of children die before their 5th birthday, hundreds of millions are affected by climate, and 1.3 billion people live with a severe disability. The world needs all the help it can get. And AI and technology cannot solve all these problems, but can help some of these problems. The challenge is that the organizations and governments that are working to try to solve these problems usually do not have the capacity or structure to hire and retain this talent. What is also true, that maybe Hammerbacher didn't fully consider, is that predicting which children have higher chances of infant mortality and predicting which customer will click on your ads, even if these two problems cannot be further apart from a societal point of view, from a pure AI and data science perspective, these problems are basically the same problem, which means that if in your teams you have people that are really good making sure people click on your ads, you can use that same talent to help the world. That's what my team does. We work with organizations and governments around the world, bringing our AI expertise, and we partner with subject matter experts. We are usually not subject matter experts on the problem that we are solving. We are subject matter experts on AI, and we partner with subject matter experts to help them solve some of the problems. Today, I'm going to be covering some of the lessons in the last 6 years working in these labs. The first one is, as humans, we naturally gravitate towards focusing on negative news. And this is likely happened because of evolution. Our ancestors, the ones that were more focused on good news, those didn't make it. And that's, from an evolution perspective, that's why we are so much focused on bad news, which from an evolution perspective helps, but we also need to understand that because of that, we often adopt a more pessimistic outlook of the world. When we look at metrics, in the last 100 years, a lot of these metrics have significantly improved decade after decade after decade, from infant mortality to people living in extreme poverty to areas like global literacy rate. All of these metrics have been moving in the right direction. Sometimes it's difficult when you look at the news to understand how much progress we have made. We also need to understand that for some world problems, relying on AI is the only option we have. Retinopathy or prematurity is the leading cause of blindness in infants around the world. This is a disease that didn't exist a few decades ago, but we're seeing a huge growth, now particularly affecting areas like Latin America or Sub-Saharan Africa. And the reason this didn't exist, and we're now seeing a huge increase, is a result of good news. This ROP affects very small premature babies that before they wouldn't have a chance to survive. Now, because of improvements in health and healthcare, more and more of these babies are surviving. And because of that, we are seeing more of these cases. What is the challenge for the world? We only have 200,000 ophthalmologists, 10,000 of which are pediatric ophthalmologists. Even if we do magic and we distribute them perfectly around the world, and they work only on doing diagnostics of ROP, we would not have enough ophthalmologists to do this work. A lot of the countries where we are seeing an increase in ROP cases, sometimes they might have even one pediatric ophthalmology to diagnose ROP. And this is why we've been working with amazing doctors in Mexico, in Colombia, in Argentina, where they have dedicated their life to help make sure that these babies are not blind and to help do diagnostics, but they know that there are not enough of them to do these diagnostics. As part of that, we have designed an AI model that can run on a smartphone and use just one lens, like this one here. And this model can, by just taking a video of the child, it will extract the information from that video and run an AI model to help do the diagnostics of ROP. This is something that we are now publishing in JAMA, and we want these doctors to eventually convert this into something that they can use. This is a problem where AI is not just a solution, but is the only solution we have. We also learn that as humans, we are addicted to complexity. We like complex projects and we like complex things. This is the reason we put a person on the moon before we added wheels to your luggage. And if we want to look intelligent and we want to impress people, there's nothing better than having very complex solutions. That works. If you want to have an impact in the world, your solutions need to be simple. Building simple solutions is hard, but it's more important to first recognize that addiction to complexity. Recognize that as managers, as project leaders, we will always gravitate to something more complex. That doesn't work. We also learn that we as humans can get, as humans and our models can get fooled by bias. Let me show you what I call the left-handed dilemma. Assuming that now when people invite you to this conference didn't ask you whether you're left-handed or right-handed, the distribution of left-handed people in the room will be similar to the distribution of left-handed people in the population, which means that 10% of you will be left-handed. And because seating is independent of left-handed or right-handed, we will have roughly the same amount of people left-handed on this side of the room than on this side of the room. Can you raise your hand if you're left-handed? You see, it works. I could work in Vegas. Unfortunately, I have really bad news for the left-handed people. There was a study that was published in the New England Journal of Medicine that is the most prestigious medical journal in the world, where they took a random sample of people that died, asked their family members whether they were left-handed or right-handed, and found that being left-handed was associated with people who were left-handed died 9 years younger than right-handed people. If this was true, being left-handed would be as bad as smoking 120 cigarettes per day. So this is really bad for left-handed people. I'm sorry for that. The good news for the left-handed people was that what researchers didn't realize was that for a long period of time, there was a discrimination against being left-handed, and parents would force their kids to be right-handed. And I know that because my grandfather was one of them. He was forced to be right-handed. Eventually, people stopped doing that, and this generates this artificial increase in the left-handed population. This artificial increase in the left-handed population is the one that gives us the illusion that left-handed people die younger, when in reality, that's not the case. What's the challenge from an AI perspective? If you're a life insurance company and you have this data set and you're training this data set to understand how much you need to charge to your customers, the AI model will tell you that you need to charge more to the left-handed people, when in reality, that doesn't make any sense. The vast majority of the data we collect has some biases. If we don't understand the biases, our models will not be accurate. Some problems are more difficult than we anticipate. In 2014, many people, including me, by the way, said, in 10 years, we will have self-driving cars. In 2016, some of the most prestigious researchers in the world said people should stop training radiologists now. It's just completely obvious that within 5 years, deep learning is going to be better than radiologists. This is a picture this morning of some radiologists going to work in regular cars. It doesn't mean that we're not going to solve that problem, by the way. I have 3 kids. I hope that my kids will not need to drive. Unless you smoke, or you're left-handed, driving your car is going to be the most dangerous thing you're going to be doing in your life. So, of course, I want self-driving cars for my kids, but we also need to recognize that there are problems out there that are very difficult to solve, and we need to be humble about that. It doesn't mean we're not going to solve them, but some of them are going to take us much more effort. AI can make a big difference, and we have witnessed this in the last 6 years for some of the work we have done. Whenever there is a natural disaster, my team partners with a satellite data company called Planet. We put a satellite on top of the natural disaster, we take pictures, we download that information, and we run AI models to build damage assessment maps. These are maps that indicate how many houses or structures were affected and where they are. This information is critical for teams on the ground to understand how many people do they need to send and to where. But the organizations that work with us, organizations like American Red Cross, organizations like UN agencies tell us that if we can provide this information within 24 hours, that information can help save lives. This is the Afghanistan earthquake, Libya flooding, that's the LA fires back in January, that's Lahaina fires. We have worked on this for many years now. We also work in the Ukraine war. When Russia invaded Ukraine, Ukraine was complaining that Russia was attacking schools, water facilities, and hospitals. These buildings are different from the majority of other buildings because these buildings are protected by the Geneva Convention. Deliberate attack on some of these buildings can be considered a war crime. So what we did was, using satellites, we mapped every single school, water facility, and hospital across Ukraine. And not only we could identify whether they were destroyed or not, we could go back in time and understand when did that happen. We're working with in the Amazon in Colombia. It was taking 18 months to understand deforestation. We are now moving that to days. If you can have information about deforestation in days, you can use that information to send alerts. You can help the government take an action. And we are helping that. We are also using camera traps and acoustic data to help researchers understand and measure biodiversity in places like the Amazon or the Serengeti. We work in areas like medical imaging. Particularly, we've been working a lot in pancreatic cancer. If you look at the chart here, that's the survival rate, the 5-year survival rate. And if you look at the chart, for majority of the cancers, our medical healthcare and doctors and research have significantly improved the chances of you to survive. Pancreatic cancer is the one on the bottom. And even though we have made a small improvement, today, majority of the people that have a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer will not survive in 5 years. And the reason this happens is because when you detect pancreatic cancer, it's usually too late. What the doctors tell us is that if you can detect pancreatic cancer when it's less than 3 centimeters, you can have a surgery, and that can actually help treat it in a way that you can help save lives. But it's very difficult for doctors to look at that from a CT scan and identify cancer. We are using AI models to help these researchers do this. In areas like, there's 285 million people that are visually impaired in the world. And thanks to technology like AI models that run on technology like Be My Eyes, you have people that can use these phones now to navigate the world. There's a person that now works in Microsoft, and one time she posted this. She wasn't working in Microsoft at that point. She posted this online in LinkedIn. It says, as someone born blind, when I think back, I remember it as the year when AI vision got real. And she goes further. One of my favorite aspects of my new world of AI vision is how it evokes emotions in me. I've literally gone through and relabeled all my favorite pictures of my kid on my phone because of the level of nuance it communicates to me about her face in each one. This is a mom that for the first time can see the expressions of her daughter. There's a paper that was published last year where they took a sample of questions from patients and asked GPT-4 to answer them versus a medical doctor. What the paper showed, this was published in JAMA, was that the GPT was not only more accurate in many ways, but actually was showing more empathy in some of these questions. This doesn't mean that this technology is ready to use it like this, but it shows that it has the power to do it. We live in a world where 4 billion people, half of the world, do not have access to doctors. This technology can help. And we believe that in the next few years, we will see a huge improvement on areas like healthcare because of this technology. In our phones, we have more processing power than the one that was needed to put a person on the moon. There are very important problems out there that can and should be solved with data. We no longer have excuses. Thank you very much.